Welcome to one of the longer streams for the last good man in Jersey. I'm going to say right now that this video is not going to be as relevant to everyone. This one's for kind of a smaller segment of viewers who are familiar with Courtney Michelle. I am posting something because I had an exchange with her that I was very surprised by. It explained some criticisms people have had of her that I used to defend her, and I'm not defending her anymore because now I've seen it with my own two eyes. So this is kind of me publicly acknowledging, okay, I see what everyone is talking about. Quick setup. So Courtney Michelle is a streamer. She's got about 30,000 people, subscribers, and she positioned herself as kind of a relationship advocate. I saw some of her content, let's say going back about a year. I didn't think that she was a great analyst, but I did see passion from her, and I thought, this is someone who might have potential. The content will get better, the analytics will get better. She seems to really care about this cause. Don't follow her, but I did look at some of her videos. They always seem to argue for the nuclear family, which is something that I believe in. However, there was an undercurrent of people who were calling her a quote unquote chameleon, which essentially meant she doesn't believe what she's saying. She doesn't support nuclear families. She's kind of anti men, staunch feminist, and she's pretending to be something she's not. I never really saw that. I didn't agree with that. But I just got into an exchange with her that surprised me, and so I'm going to share it. Not my normal setup, but here we go. We're looking at my screen. So here's the deal. This is an interesting video. Now you'll see 40-year-old woman, strong, independent, and still single. What's happening here is there's a woman who is posting a video about being 40, successful, and single, and not knowing what to do about it. A man reacts to her video, does a reaction video. Courtney is doing a reaction to that man's video. Now, all of this seems pretty straightforward. And I found it interesting that, through all of this, it felt like they weren't hitting on the real issue. This woman who's 40 and single is doing those generic talking points. Oops, I have some dinner here that we're going to eat later. About men being intimidated by her success. A lot of things that really aren't the case. You can kind of look at her and see that she's not a bad looking woman, but she's not a hottie. And she talks a lot about how she used to be able to date top tier guys, and it raises some questions. Are you holding out for a top tier guy now because that's what you've grown used to? So, just a lot of I would say pretty common stuff you see when you see these types of videos. However, I made a comment about Courtney's reaction to a reaction video. Thought it was pretty harmless. You can be the judge. The problem I've experienced with dating 40-year-olds is that they don't understand how leverage has changed. Women in their 20s have more leverage than men. By 40, they lose that advantage because men can simply date younger. Men will literally think, why put up with this attitude from a 40-year-old when I can just date a 30-year-old? The women I know who finally found relationships after 40 made some sort of behavioral change. They became more friendly, or they got involved with a pretty boy who made a lot less than them. I don't think that's attacking. I don't think that's bias. It's just an honest assessment. I've gone out with women 40 plus who've never been in relationships. And what I've found is that you spend 5 minutes talking to them, and it's quickly obvious to me why they aren't in a relationship. Most typically, they didn't care about relationships all their lives, but now their biological clock is ticking, so suddenly they want one. Or they were in relationships, but they were comfortable being in relationships with guys who they knew didn't have long-term potential. And again, the biological clock starts ticking, and so their attitudes towards a relationship change. And they either date they date different kinds of men, or they take on different attitudes to date the kinds of men they want. So I didn't see anything, offensive in what I said. If someone does, please let me know. But here's the response I get from Courtney Michelle. As a woman that's 40, and my mate is 36 data, I beg to differ. Look at the women in their 20s. They look 40. Okay. I didn't fully understand what her point was here. And I think that what she's trying to say is that 20-year-olds do not look as attractive as 40-year-olds. Now that's ludicrous. She didn't literally say that, so I followed up. Like, if you're saying that 20-year-olds look 40, well, then how old do 40-year-olds look? I mean, what are we trying to say here? Are you trying to make a case that 40-year-olds look younger than 20-year-olds? Women default to looks and can neglect basic biology. A 40-year-old woman probably has more money, but definitely has fewer eggs. Worse prospect. Again, I'm being factual. Now, admittedly, with this second one, I'm being a little bit more direct. And because she went into that weird 20-year-olds look too old thing, and I didn't understand it. So I didn't want there to be any confusion. The point was simple. A 20-year-old can give a man more kids than a 40-year-old. There are things you'll tolerate from a 20-year-old that you wouldn't tolerate from a 40-year-old because you expect a 40-year-old to be more mature, to better understand the situation. So, again, not trying to trigger anything, just trying to make a statement. I am going to explain something that's a little weird because while you see these, if you look at the order on the screen, there's this message and then there's this subsequent message. For whatever reason, the way they came out to me, I saw this bottom message first and then the second message. I'll point that out because I responded to this one, this short one, and then I saw this other one pop up. However, here was the thread. She says she prays to God that I tried to compare her to just pearly things. Please, this would be epic content. Now I did respond, but let's get to our other response because it all makes sense. Hey, creepy man, do you not support a movement that says looks matter to men? So as a 40-year-old woman that looks better than a 26-year-old, she looks like burnt, dried up raisin. Okay? She's talking about Pearl. And guess what? Just because you're a 40-year-old virgin doesn't mean that the majority of men are. They are amazing, high-value men that don't want children because they already have them. I'm marrying one. Newsflash. You don't know these types of men because you're not it. Get off my page. Shots fired. Now, here's my response. And I had started my response, kind of going here. And I see this other one come up. So, I kind of did a little pivot. But here was my response. And, at this point, I was, before I read it, I'll just, take a minute to process what she's saying here. She's disparaging just pearly things, which is coming out of left field. If she's got an issue with just pearly things, that's kind of between her and Pearl. I don't know why she's pulling that into our conversation. She's getting into some very specific criticisms of me, which are false, but, are just mean-spirited. Like, to call me a 40-year-old virgin, why would you go there? Hypothetically, let's say I was a 40-year-old virgin. Why would you go there? Kind of, you're trying to hit below the belt. So it's a strange comment. But then to also say I'm not a six-figure man, so I don't belong in that conversation is incorrect. So it's just weird. Like, why are you making these personal attacks? And if you're going to make personal attacks, why aren't you making better personal attacks? Say some things that are accurate. Um, I was bewildered by this, but that was a point where I thought, oh, this is what everyone's been talking about. I didn't notice it until now. So I am acknowledging that all the people who I defended Courtney Michelle in front of, I was dead wrong. She is exactly what you said. Now I see it. However, this was my response. This was my I kind of, well, I'll talk about it and then we'll close it out. I basically said, hey, look, I don't mind playing along with your strategy to engage with commenters, but you're being stupid. Number one, I didn't bring up Pearl. You did. Number two, I never said looks don't matter, but I did say that age matters too. You overlooked that second part she doesn't acknowledge. And number three, since you want to go there, okay, Pearl is far more valuable than you. Just compare your subscriber bases. She's got about 30,000. Pearl's closing in on 2 million. I don't mind your personal attacks, but nobody's forcing you to respond to my posts. I will say this, though. I didn't understand why people called you a chameleon until now. When I first saw her, she was interviewing podcasters, and what it looked to me like she was trying to do, this was right after Kevin Samuels passed away. It looked like she was trying to figure out who the next Kevin Samuels was. I assumed that she was trying to help promote a new voice to speak to nuclear families and the need for nuclear families. And that was my first impression of her. Sporadically, I saw some of her content. I probably, tuned into content that seemed to support nuclear families, so I was getting a biased view of who she is. But this is what I saw. This is a woman who does, factually incorrect, mean spirited, low blow attacks for views. I understand her approach, commenting, talking to the people who are in your comment section to try to generate a richer conversation around your topic. Yeah, I understand how that works. Attacking them, no, I don't understand that. To Courtney Michelle, if she ever sees this, yes, I think this was a very nasty comment from you. I hope at some point you self-reflect and kind of reconsider your approach, because this one is not going to win you viewers. And I think that's what your goal was. The last good man in Jersey, signing out.